How much longer do you think this experiment of worship teams, worship songs?
It will happen, or it will last as long as it takes for the two worship services that are currently happening on a Sunday to somehow get brought back into one worship service on a Sunday. And I know that's hard to see, so we're going to try and explain it here. It's a little dark. I'm in the car. I'm on my way to work. I just pulled over to do this after watching this TikTok during my morning quiet time. So, hi, I'm Mike. I do theology and tech, and this is a tech problem. This is not a kind of like worship problem. It's not a congregational problem. This is technique and technology. That's the only things getting in the way here. So, the first thing is that, yeah, there are two worship services happening in contemporary worship services. If you go into a church and you see big screens where the words are going to be, and a well-lit stage or a well-appointed stage with, guitar pedals and, iPad music stands and a Nord keyboard and a drum kit and a fish tank, you're going to have two worship services. You're going to have one worship service where everyone knows what songs are being sung. Everyone knows how to sing them. Everyone knows what order they're going to be sung in, and every advantage is given to those people in order to be able to perform those worship songs as an act of worship for God on a Sunday. They will be given every advantage. They will be given a click track in their ear to make sure they stay on time. They will be given instructions throughout the song, through those earpieces that they wear, to make sure that they stay on track so that they can perform those songs. They know how those songs are going to be performed. They know how the songs are arranged so that, like, if you're going between two songs in an arrangement style, that they know that they're going from one song to another song and maybe back to another song. They're going to know how many choruses are being sung. They're going to know which choruses are being sung. They're going to know how many bars of music are between certain choruses so they never sing out of tune. And then you have the congregation, who only gets words and as many distractions as are allowable between them and those words to follow. They are never taught how to do any of the songs at the church anymore. That job is taken up by Christian radio stations and maybe Spotify's algorithm. They are never told how the songs are going to be sung. They're never told what songs are going to be sung ahead of time. They are not told what parts of songs are being changed so that you can intermix songs for emotional impact. The screens where their words are now filled with moving backgrounds to distract them. They are in a dark room so that, like, it's easier to see those screens because they're backlit, but they're also, like, covered in moving LED lights sometimes. There's as many distractions as possible, and like no instruction is really given to them and stuff like that. That's what's happening. There's two different worship services happening, and until that gets addressed, either like ecclesiologically and theologically from the pulpit to fix that, or from the stage in ways of changing how they're doing something, like how they're doing their worship service so that it includes the congregation, you're not going to have an end to this experiment, because this is just how things are done now. We want a performance on Sundays. We do not want congregational singing. Congregational singing is the afterthought of modern worship. And a lot of people like to point back at hymnals and like traditional music and stuff like that as if that was the answer. It was only functionally the answer. The only reason why it worked is because there was no performance happening on stage. You were generally in a well-lit room, and everyone had access to the sheet music that the accompaniment was playing. You could see that a song had 3 verses, and at most churches, you let people know that you were only singing the first and third verse. It became a meme, actually. Like, you could see everyone was participating in that. Everyone was a part of the band. And now only certain people are a part of the band, and they get preferential treatment in worship, in the congregation. They get the preferential seats that we are warned about in giving. Like, I think James talks about it. They get preference. They get preference to worship in our current setup of like big screens, dark room, words on a screen kind of thing. And there's only a few ways you can fix this. Like I said, you can address it from the pulpit and actually fix it like structurally and functionally and stuff, but that's going to be really tricky. But the easiest way to fix this is to have everyone do a 180 in their seat during the worship service and look at the solitary screen that the worship band usually looks at that's projected onto the back wall of the screen. That one never has the words, slightly behind the beat or late. That one has to work in order for the performance to go on. And we all know that. That one is never late. That one gets changed first. And if they're linked up, that one is always there. A lot of the times I've seen it where like the next words are like kind of below the words so that you can see it coming ahead of time, so that you don't accidentally start singing a chorus when there is no chorus and make a fool of yourself in the congregation while you're trying to worship God. Okay, like that doesn't count as in the spirit, does it? If we all did a 180 and looked at one screen together as an entire church, performers on stage and the people in the pews, well, that would do it. That would suffice, and we would have congregational singing. But then why do we have lights on stage? Why do we have, people in fancy outfits on stage, trendy outfits? Why do we have a guitar pedal board with 12, effects pedals for the acoustic guitar? Like, we want the performance. We really do. We want the performance because, like, that's what looks good, and we're okay with bifurcating the congregation to make sure we have that performance so that we can show other people that we have that performance. Like, that's the only way we do. Another great way to see if maybe this is a problem at your church is to ask your creative department, if someone asked for it, would you give them the click track so that they could be involved, like the band is involved, in the pew? If there is any hesitation, yeah, you have these problems. You have these problems because, like, if a congregation member isn't allowed the same access to the congregational singing that you want, because it's actually a performance-based singing, well then, like, that shows the kind of, like, the rot that needs to get dealt with, the problems that need to get dealt with. This isn't like a push that we should get back to hymnal singing or traditional music or that kind of stuff, but like, we can reimagine what congregational singing looks like, but you can't do it with screens on a stage and like a band that's performing. You can't do it because performance and congregational singing are not the same thing. And until that's kind of rectified and justified between themselves, there will always be two worship services happening in contemporary worship service churches every Sunday. There will be what's happening on stage and what's happening in the pew, and neither the twain shall meet.